The famous Dal Lake of the Valley attracts one and all the world over. Its beauty gets even more beautified from June to October, the time during which it's covered by a green carpet of large, rounded, glossy leaves. The scene becomes more attractive when lotus flowers stem up from their roots. This is the sight that bewitches the eyes of a beholder. The beauty is increased not only by the size of the bloom, but also by the numbers in which the flowers are produced. Known as Kamal in Hindi, Pamposh in Kashmiri, Padma in Bengali, and Lotus in English, the history of the flower dates back to early times. The lotus flowers have obtained a place in Hindu and Buddhist ceremonies and mythological fables. The flowers are considered sacred to Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. Theophrastus, the philosopher, considers lotus a native of Egypt. He mentions that its sculptured representations abound in ruins of Egyptian temples. The Buddhists revere the lotus flowers as a symbol of Lord Buddha's posture, the Padmasana, which achieved him nirvana. The most commonly recited Buddhist prayer, Om Mani Padme Hum, which means Buddha in the lotus flower, symbolizes both purity and the power of beauty. Lotus leaves are used as plates on which offerings are placed. The nuts are strong as beads used to recite religious mantras. Grows in mud, symbolizes purity. Lotus, the national flower of India, presents a sweet paradox. A large aquatic herb, it's commonly found growing in stagnant shallow waters of lakes, ponds and tanks. The plant is known as Nilambo nucifera and belongs to family Nymphaceae. It's distributed throughout temperate regions of Asia up to an altitude of 1800 meters. It's often cultivated for its elegant, sweet-scented flowers and edible rhizomes.
Nilambo is a perennial aquatic plant which survives through its underground rhizomes in the famous Dal Lake. The rhizomes grow at a depth of 3 to 4 meters beneath the water surface, and annually from these rhizomes we have production of the very famous lotus flowers. Usually in the months of June and July, whole of Dal Lake is covered with the bloom of pink lotus flowers, which give a very fascinating look to the Dal, the Nigin and the Anchar lakes of the valley. The rhizomes usually are produced in the months of June, and then gradually they start elongating lengthwise. And I have here the rhizome which has been dug out from the waters of the Dal Lake. Now you can see here this rhizome consists of two distinct portions. This is the nodal portion, this is the internodal portion, and the difference is that at the internodes we have a bunch of fibrous roots here, and this internodal portion gives us the edible rhizome, which when mature looks like this. This is the mature rhizome which actually is then dug out from the lake and then is sold in the vegetable markets. Now at these nodes, wherever the bunch of roots is produced, we also have the production of 3 very long petioles which can be seen here. This is the very long petiole, and this long petiole actually subtends the leaf of the Nilambo on the surface of the water. Now usually at one node we have production of 3 of these leaves, and also in the axil of each leaf we have production of a pedicel which culminates in the form of a single lotus flower which is emergent and is actually found at a height of almost 1 feet above the surface of water. Now this is the flower which is cherished not only for its ornamental value, but also for the edible torus that it produces at the top. Now this edible torus usually is produced at the time when the petals fall off and the fruits mature.
It's a perennial aquatic herb which survives through its fleshy rhizome. The rhizomes remain in the muddy substratum of the stagnant water bodies. From these rhizomes at nodes arise long petiole up to 3 meters in length, each bearing a single orbicular and peltate leaf, about 1 to 1.5 feet above the surface of water. Each leaf is 60 to 90 centimeters in diameter. Leaves are glaucous and non-sticky. The droplets of water often appear as beads or pearls on their surface. From each node also arises a long pedicel, which bears a single large pink flower, about 2 to 2.5 centimeters diameter, with a large number of petaloid perianth. The flowers usually open in the morning and close partially in the evening. The flowers in various stages of bloom are extremely valued for their ornamental value. They are traded as cut flowers. A single flower remains in bloom for 3 to 5 days, after which the petals begin to fall and fruit formation begins. The fruit, known as torus, is a top-shaped structure with 10 to 30 carpels sunk in cavities on the upper side. Each carpel matures into a single ovoid nutlet embedded in the fibrous tissue of the torus. The young nutlets are eaten raw as a dessert fruit or may be roasted. From August to October, large quantities of these fruits are marketed as articles of diet. It forms a source of income for lake dwellers having ownership rights on the portions of lake meant for cultivation and trade. Nutlets contain 66.6% carbohydrates, 17.2% proteins, and 2.4% of fats.
As far as seeds of lotus plant are concerned, they are also of medicinal importance. Seeds are used to check vomiting, as a diuretic, and in various skin disorders, especially in leprosy. Seeds are also used as an antidote.
In addition to flowers and fruits, the rhizome of lotus plant are an important commercial commodity of the lotus growers. The tender and farinaceous rhizomes begin to mature in October and are extracted manually from lake waters using a simple tool known as shum by experienced hands. There's also a natural way of diving deep and fishing out the rhizomes. This method involves skill and timing. On an average, from a single plant, a radial spread of 1.5 meters of rhizome is produced every year, divided into nodes and internodes. During extraction, only internodal portion are collected, while nodes with the daughter rhizomes are left behind for the next year. Rhizomes, after collection, are cleaned, sorted, tied in bundles of 2 to 3 kgs each, marketed and finally relished as a vegetable diet. Rhizomes contain water 83.80%, protein 2.7%, fat 0.11%, sugar 1.56%, sucrose 0.41%, starch 9.25%, fiber 0.80%, ash 1.10% and calcium 0.06%.
Roots of lotus plant are also used in medicine. Roots in powder form are prescribed for piles and dysentery, as a paste in skin affections and ringworm. Rhizomes are edible and also contain vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, niacin and ascorbic acid.
Nullumba nucifera can be propagated both through natural as well as artificial methods.
The propagation in Nullumba is mainly through vegetative means, where these daughter rhizomes are allowed to remain underwater, and from these daughter rhizomes next year we have production of the new rhizomes, which in turn mature into the adult ones, which are then harvested. In natural propagations, some of the toruses remain uncut and they dry, and the seeds or nutlets in them, they also dry, and these nutlets, once they fall down into the waters of the dull, they germinate and produce young plants next season, and in the third year of their growth they produce the rhizomes. In the man-made propagation, these nutlets are fixed in small mud balls, and in turn those mud balls are dropped onto the bottom of the lake, and from those mud balls the young plants emerge in the next season.
The process ends. Life comes to a full circle. We watch the confluence of old and the new, where old pave the way for the new ones to take root, germinate, and begin the story of creation once more.